News is the events and people that shape our lives. It never stops.
And most people in Australia turn to television to find out what's happening, whether it's news from the other side of the globe, the other side of the nation, or right on our own doorstep.
Hello and welcome to Channel 7 Adelaide. Every night of the year at 6 o'clock, the people of South Australia get their news live from this studio.
What you see every night at 6 o'clock is the result of the efforts of a news team that works all day to present you with the best possible coverage of the stories that matter most to the people of South Australia.
So much happens behind the scenes to bring you that bulletin.
So come with us and take a tour of the news operation.
The newsroom kicks into life very early in the morning. The first job of the Chief of Staff is to identify the local major news stories. That means phoning contacts, police, ambulance and fire service, and also checking what vision's been shot throughout the state overnight. Add to that the hundreds of emails and faxes that have to be sifted through, many of them telling us about press conferences throughout the day.
Reporters also generate news leads. Specialist police, political and sports reporters are often on the phone to their contacts long before they get to work.
When we come to work, we go to the Chief of Staff to discuss our assignments. Then we team up with a cameraman, head out on the road, get pictures and interviews, or start researching at our desk.
We need to gather information fast when we arrive at work. We need to get as much information as we can, as quickly as we can, so we can work out which stories are going into the bulletin.
The senior editorial team meets every day to shape the bulletin. This production meeting's attended by the news director, the producer, senior editor, sport producer and chief of staff. All the early information gathered by the chief of staff and reporters is fed into this meeting so it can make decisions that will shape the bulletin.
The meeting weighs up all stories, local, national and international, to decide what will run in the bulletin. Very often stories chosen at the beginning of the day will not make it into the evening news because news is constantly changing.
What's great about TV news is that we can bring you interviews and pictures so that you can see and hear the news makers and news events of the day. Now that means the news reporter will spend most of his or her day out on the road with a camera operator travelling to interviews and news events so that we can bring you the very latest at 6 o'clock.
But a TV journalist's job always starts with the basics of a story. What happened, where it occurred, when it took place, why it's important and how it affects our viewers.
All 7 news reporters have to put together the facts of a story.
Decide where they need to go to get pictures and arrange interviews with people significant to the story. It's very important that wherever possible they get both sides of the story. So at the end of the day the report is accurate and fair.
We have to get to the very heart of a news story so we can present it to you clearly and precisely. Now that often means going out on the road and conducting many interviews and asking many questions, often on the same topic. So it's presented to you clearly and precisely at 6 o'clock.
This is the studio where Jane and I present 7 News. As you can see, there are 2 sets in here, one for the 7 News desk and the other for Today Tonight. Now our news scripts are fed into a special device called auto cue. It's fitted to the lens of the camera and it reflects the words up so we can look into the camera and read the words to you.
Fine and sunny 24 degrees. And this is where I present the weather every night. Now it's all done with the magic of chroma key, similar to what they use in the movies. All I can see behind me is this big blue screen. But a computer generates images where it sees the blue. Now the only way I can see those images or graphics is by looking at this monitor to my right.
I'll write and present a number of news updates through the day. To do that, I need to get all the information available on the stories we're covering. I talk to journalists on specific stories and to the news producer, the person in charge of putting the day's bulletin together.
The producer's directly responsible for managing the rundown. The rundown lists the day's news reports in the order they'll go to air that night.
The rundown changes constantly right up until 6 o'clock or even while we're on air. Stories are added as they break, which means others have to be removed to make way for them.
The newsroom needs the pictures we've just shot urgently to get them into news updates, but we're too far away to drive them back to the station in time. So this is where the news cruiser comes into play. The Chief of Staff organises for the cruiser to come meet us, feed the pictures back so we can put them to air.
The news cruiser is a special vehicle equipped with a microwave transmitter and a directional mast, enabling pictures and sound to be sent back to the studio. Once the cruiser is in position, the technician radios back to the station to coordinate frequencies and then feeds the pictures back to Hindmarsh.
The 7 News helicopter is another important piece of news gathering equipment. It's used to get images from difficult places or provide up-to-the-minute pictures on a late-breaking story.
Getting pictures and interviews back from news stories that happen in remote locations is not an easy exercise. What's needed is portable satellite equipment, satellite news gathering or SNG.
Sport's a very important part of people's lives, so of course it's a very important part of what we do here at 7. We've got our own specialist sports department, we've got a dedicated reporters, producers and of course sports presenters. And every now and then special guests turn up on a regular basis.
Now, just like mainstream news, big sporting events are sent to us here at Channel 7 every day via the satellite. Now, one of our main jobs is to watch these events from within Australia and around the world and pick out the best parts for our nightly sports segment.
When you get back to the office, one of the first things to do is to write your script. To do that, I'll have a look at the pictures and interviews from today and make sure I use the best material. Then I'll write my script, have a chat to the sports producer. We'll just fine-tune it a little bit. When we're both happy with that, I'll go to the voiceover booth, voice the script, then it's ready to edit.
All of 7's news reports are compiled on a computer editing system. Voiceovers, interviews, excerpts and pictures are edited together to complete the report.
At this time of day, reporters, editors and producers are working frantically, and in the control room, things are getting really busy.
The control room team has already had a busy day, presenting regular live updates throughout the afternoon and at the same time preparing for tonight's bulletin.
All the graphics in 7 News, like the pictures you see behind John and me when we introduce stories, or the graphic information in reporters' packages, are created here on station by our own team of artists in the graphics department.
Every day this talented team takes the information provided by the Weather Bureau and turns it into concise, easy to read maps and graphics. And I'm in contact with the Weather Bureau several times every day to make sure that you get the very latest weather information.
It's getting close to 6 o'clock, so while Mel is doing her final preparations for the weather segment, Jane and I are about to move to the news desk.
Bruce is checking his sports scripts and reporters and editors are adding the finishing touches to their stories. Some won't be finished until after the bulletin is on air, and finally, it is.
7 News, live from the Adelaide studios of Channel 7.
So that's a working day for the 7 News team, and we repeat it every day of the year.
We've still got evening news breaks to present, but in news the day never actually ends. A night cameraman will be out tonight covering stories, and if a big story breaks, the Chief of Staff will take the call, and at any time he will send more crews on the road.
Tomorrow's bulletin is already underway, so we hope you've enjoyed this look at 7 News, and we'll see you all tonight live at 6.